Although there has been talk about new patches for the PS4 release of the Jak and Daxter Trilogy, the games haven't changed a single bit for roughly 3 months now as I'm publishing this video. So I thought it's a fair time to make a comparison between the releases we got on PS2, 3, and 4.
You forgot about the Vita!
Yeah, no, let's not talk about that one. I'm going to compare them in terms of controls, graphics, and since some people like me care about this a lot, the camera style. I will also cover the speedruns of the game a bit and give you a brief conclusion on what I think each version is ideally used for. So let's start off with the original, the PS2. In my opinion, the PS2 version feels the best to play on, and it is really satisfying to chain together movement. It has also what I would call original controls, meaning that this is what the games were supposed to play like. The other two versions aren't close to replicating that quite yet, but more on this later. It has a decent to good frame rate and usually runs at its intended 60 frames a second, but there are times where it does dip down and lag out a bit. Graphics wise, I'd say the PS2 version looks the least favorable out of the 3 releases when viewed on an HD TV or monitor. Keep in mind that the games run in 480i and only using progressive scan in 480p at best, which is below the HD standard we're having these days. There are devices like the PS2 to HDMI, but they can sometimes worsen your image quality, and they even add some delay to what you're seeing on your end device. If you're going to play it on an HD TV or monitor, I recommend getting a good upscaler like the FrameMeister or the open source scan converter, also known as OSSC, which properly takes the console's analog output and converts it into a digital HDMI signal. And before you PS2 fanboys out there get triggered, the games look gorgeous on a CRT, especially when you're using anything better than composite cables. There is no option to change the camera controls around for Jak 1 and 2, and it controls the opposite of what the PS4 release has to offer. Jak 1 in particular is considered the most optimal to speedrun on a PlayStation 2, due to how well the movement chains together in this version. And next to PS4, some PS2 copies allow for a depth abuse in Golemaya Citadel, which can skip the entire level. If you don't care about the graphics too much, and you just want to have an authentic experience playing these games, I'd say the original PS2 versions are your way to go. Let's move on to the HD collection on PlayStation 3. The HD collection has the infamous punch glitch, which seems to randomly change the direction you're punching in, resulting in unwanted movement and even deaths. There are ways to work around them since they seem to appear in the same spots, but they are a huge pain regardless. This does not occur on PS2 and PS4. It makes up with a good and stable frame rate though, and stays at 60 frames a second at pretty much all times. Graphics wise, I'd say the PlayStation 3 version looks the most favorable out of them all, especially when it comes to recording footage for videos like these. The PlayStation 3 version also has better texture filtering, meaning that they're keeping more detail the further away they get. And the high resolution level of detail models are loading in from further away as well. At best, the games run in 720p 60, and since the PlayStation 3 has an HDMI out, it looks great on basically any HD TV or monitor that's using that very standard. Unlike the PS2 and PS4 versions though, you don't have the in-game option to switch between 4:3 and 16:9. However, by setting your PlayStation 3 to 480p on NTSC consoles and 576p on PAL, and choosing the 4:3 option, you will be able to play the games in their original 4:3 aspect ratio. Why do you want to be playing in 4:3? I actually made a video on that, which I will link in the description down below. Feel free to check it out. I cannot give you my opinion when it comes to playing the HD collection on a CRT, since I never hooked it up to one. What I can tell you though, is that there's an option to change the camera controls for all games, so you can play them however you like it. The PlayStation 3 release was a little less fortunate when it comes to speedrunning the Precursor Legacy. The previously mentioned Citadel skip does not work on the HD collection. With the fact that punch glitch exists, and that loading save files takes pretty long too, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage as well. Although it has its quirks when it comes to movement, for Jak 2 and 3 however, this version is the fastest to speedrun on, mainly because cutscenes load up insanely fast. So if you want to record some smooth and good looking footage of the Jak and Daxter Trilogy, I can easily recommend the PlayStation 3 release. And you're also doing yourself a little favor when it comes to speedrunning Jak 2 and 3, since they are the fastest using the HD collection. And that should cover PlayStation 3 already. So let's move on to PS4. A lot of people thought that this version was also plagued by a punch glitch, but they were wrong. I've put quite some time into playing this release, and it hasn't happened a single time. One thing I have noticed though, and which you can make quite obvious yourself, is that the games have limited directional inputs. When crouch walking, or simply slow walking, Jak snaps into 1 out of 8 directions. It is not as obvious when walking normally, but you can still see how Jak snaps into these predetermined directions. Due to that, movement feels off and like a real gamble at times, especially when it comes to roll jumps and boosted uppercuts. This does not occur on PS2 or PS3. You may think that the PS4's mighty resolution of 1080p will swoop in and save the day, but you're only somewhat right. While the games certainly look a lot nicer on an HD TV or monitor compared to its PS2 counterpart, the frame rate of this release is what I would consider close to unplayable at times. And I'm not talking about launch Jak 2 on PAL system when it ran at only 83% of its intended speed. That has been fixed months ago. No, I'm talking about this type of stuff.
The best result.
The game has huge lag spikes that make it pretty awful to play on, at least in my opinion. Jak 1 runs pretty decent, and I can overlook its flaws a lot easier, but it really is unbearable for me when it comes to playing Jak 2 and 3. There is no option to change the camera controls around for Jak 1 and 2, and it controls the opposite of what the PS2 has to offer. The Precursor Legacy on PS4 is a bit of a surprise to me when it comes to speedrunning. Just like its PS2 counterpart, it has Citadel skip. The limited directional inputs can make it a pain to run on, since you're required to do a lot more on-foot movement in Jak 1. While you can do all major skips in Jak 2 and 3 on PS4, I would not recommend it for the speedrun due to its poor frame rate. The PS4 release is a mixed bag in my opinion. If you don't care about things like frame rate and you just want to play Jak on the latest console, I can easily see this release being your go-to. It is great when it comes to taking screenshots in 1080p. And I have also been using the PS4 controller to capture my inputs using gamepadviewer. I will leave a link to that down below in the description. You can also easily use the PS4 to stream your gameplay to Twitch or YouTube, allowing you to get proof of your speedruns without needing to buy a capture card. Just as a quick reminder, as this video was published, there hasn't been a single patch for the PS4 version for roughly 3 months now. But that doesn't mean that there aren't going to be more, and when any of the games get patched, I will certainly make follow-up videos reporting any changes to you. So everything I have mentioned about the PS4 release needs to be taken with a grain of salt, and it's subject to change. I used the PAL patches 1.03 for Jak 1, 1.02 for Jak 2, and 1.01 for Jak 3. If you are in a different region or on another patch, your experience may vary. Although I tried to be as objective as I could, I'm certain you noticed that this comparison does contain my own opinions. But I appreciate you enduring them for this long, and thanks a lot for watching. If you enjoyed the video, simply leave a like down below or share it with a friend. A little gesture like that can go a long way. And if you want to support the channel more than everyone else, follow me over on Twitter and join my community Discord server. All the links are down below in the description. My name is Boomer, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Until then, take care and bye bye.